When we're witnessing, we start to watch everything from a place of innocence, from a place without judgment. When we start to heal ourselves, we're not constantly projecting externally, but just enjoying the variance and the duality without placing a ticket on it. It just is. It just is. And we start to witness from that place of silence, beyond the judgments. And we start to appreciate the beauty within the variance, the beauty within the duality, the beauty beyond category and prejudice, the beauty in the variance. And that's the beauty of being in the roaring silence. Just the capacity to witness, to see beyond thoughts. And slowly open the eyes.
I'm a mother of 3 children. I've raised them by myself. We had some hard moments financially, because by myself I had to do it also emotionally, being them well and sadly angry, and I was very lonely and very sad, but fine with them. My concern used to be to raise good human beings, and that I made. They are grown up. They are independent. They work, they are successful. And for me too, I'm stable. And for a long time, we used to go out together, to travel, movies. My life was around them. But one day, my older son told me, "Mom, I want to talk to you. I want to tell you, what are you going to do out of your life?" And I said, "To continue with my children." And told me, "But we are grown up. We are independent. And you have to look after you." And it was then when I started my drama by myself, and I feel super lonely.
The empty nest syndrome. Oh, yeah. But this is a great moment. Everything you never did, you can do now. Yay! And they can help you. Yeah, and you've got to embrace this moment. It's like you're retiring, but you're starting a new job. And you're still young, and you can discover a million things about yourself. And women do this. They put so much force into the children, and then all of a sudden, they're gone, and you were identified with that. That's my job. I did this. And the times come for all that love you gave to them to give to yourself. And you've got unlimited possibilities. You can travel. You can go and get a different man every night. You can do whatever you want now. So you've got to let go. This is the most important thing. You've got to let go, or else you become one of those needy old ladies, no? And that's not very attractive either. So go and have a life and enjoy it and find consciousness and do things that you love. Yes? Da, 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 and live the life that you remember. Dali. Oh. It's such an incredible thing, the capacity to transform, the capacity to let go, the capacity to reinvent yourself. Because the thing is, we're always in the same thing. And we think that's who we are. And there's so many unlimited possibilities to what we can do, what we can experience. We can rediscover ourselves. And that's the most important thing. Finding you. From a spiritual point of view, you're free to discover yourself now. And stop identifying as someone's mother. But start being a mother to yourself. And to rebirth yourself. And start to enjoy yourself. Without all the attachments and the preoccupations. The freedom just to be. And that's a wonderful moment in your life. To discover you. And you came to the right place. You can do the system, expand your consciousness, meet lots of cool people that are focused on love and consciousness. You can do whatever you want. Yay. Yay, mummy, yay.
I'm very happy. On Friday, we had a meeting, and I asked you something, and you gave me an answer very clear that I had to cut the branch. And I felt that day so calm, so in peace, that I felt I was enlightened. So happy, so happy, so happy. But the next day, I went back to my head. And I had a control attack with my daughter. And after that, my experience, I had to go to Express, and I went back to Darshan. I had to go back and Express again, and I found my inner child. But what happened is that I rejected. I felt afraid of that person, that it was very fearful and very controlling, very insecure. And today again, I went to Express. I wanted, instead of killing my daughter, my son, my other son, my daughter-in-law, my husband, and everyone, I wanted to kill me. That happened.
You know, you just have to move all this stress. And it's an interesting thing. You said, I felt like I almost got enlightened. But then you see how there's resistance. Like, I don't deserve that. Everyone here laughs. But it's not something that can't be expected. That freedom, that knowing yourself, that love. All you have to do is let go. It's all any human has to do. So how are you going to evolve? Firstly, you need to move everything. You know, because you're angry. I don't know what you're feeling, but you have to let it go. You have to stop creating friction because you're identified with it. And it's like a family dynamic. You know, I start to blame the outside because of how I'm feeling. But now you can see it's your responsibility. It comes from your control. So this is great because you can see it. 99.9% of humans walk around blaming the world. I am not happy because. of the politics, the coronavirus, the weather, whatever. The family, the husband, the children, the teacher, the boss. But now you see, it's in your hands. Your happiness is in your hands. And the thing is with children, you don't own them. This is another thing. We always project onto the children. We want them to be mini extensions of us. And yet we haven't asked ourselves, am I happy as I am? And that's the first thing you have to focus on. Your freedom, your happiness, and appreciation. You know, the appreciation. Instead of the control that comes from fear, because ultimately all control comes from fear. I'm afraid I'm going to lose something. I'm going to feel bad. I'm not going to feel loved. Yeah? So you can change all of this. But how good you're starting to see it, no? Yeah?
When the system talk about being real, I feel I am super real in many aspects in my life. But in one aspect, it's something where I have a constant fight inside. When I started accepting my sexuality, I received so much rejection from my mom because it was not what she expected me to be. Until today, it's something real. It's very hard for me to talk. It's something that is hard for me to talk. Even if I understand that the process of each person is different, and I understand to be loving with my mom process. And it took time for her to accept. And today, we have a wonderful relationship. But anyway, it's something that is hard for me to talk and to accept because the fear of rejection. Can you talk a bit more how to stop hiding behind that harsh image? As if everything is fine, but inside here continues being difficult.
You know, you have to heal the judgment with you. First, you're too identified with it. You think that's who you are. And it's just an aspect of you. You've got a million aspects, and your sexuality is another aspect. And it's perfect. Whether you're with a man, with a woman, with one then the other, it makes no difference. But it's not the outside. It's your judgment. You inside think there's something wrong. And you're fighting against that. And you have to heal it completely. Because when you love yourself unconditionally, it doesn't matter what other people think. But when you don't, the outside, especially the ones you love the most, mirror that to you. Mirror that there's something wrong. But when you stop identifying with being gay and find who you really are, because you're not gay, you're God. You know, there's something much bigger. And you start loving that. All the aspects of you are perfect. They're perfect. You're perfect exactly as you are. But you don't believe that. You know, and all minority groups have the same problem. And I notice, like with gay men, and I don't want to generalise, but they're usually extremely critical. Why? Because they're very violent with themselves. And people that come from minorities or have that experience are often very violent with themselves. and they see it externally. Yeah, so you have to embrace it completely. And you don't need to have a shield. Just be you. And everything will change. You know, I know so many gay couples that are so embraced by the society, embraced by their families. Everything's open and fabulous. Even in the most homophobic situations, in countries like India and the Arab countries. But because they're so incorporated within themselves and so free in their expression, everyone's open about it. Like no one really says or cares. And you've got to get to that point. Because there's a place where you're judging. And you'll see that in your partner too. That deep judgment. Oh, I should be a different way. But you have to heal that. No one else can heal it. Only you. Yeah. And yeah, your mum's going to be jealous and she wants to be the only woman in your life. And now you've got all these beautiful girlfriends and... You know, mothers get jealous too.
I want to ask you about compassion, but connected with my job, because yesterday in the meeting with Satya, I connected with that. To tell you context, I'm a judge in criminal law, and a year ago I'm working in another court in Santiago, in another city. And I'm dedicated with teenagers' criminal problems between 14 and 18. And sometimes very severe, no? Like murder or thieves and things. And behaviors that are very severe and very rejected by the whole society, no? And the society has to be hard with them without caring that they are teenagers. So about the compassion, how can I be more compassionate in my job? Because really I believe in rehab. People can change, especially when they are young. And also I could like if you can tell me about your experience in jails, especially in Chile, that I know that your foundation did a wonderful job there.
You know, I think as a judge, you have to be very in the moment, no? And the whole essence of incarceration is reform. And when you're talking about adolescence, you have to be very open, because there is the capacity to reform, to change, because a lot of these kids come from extraordinarily violent backgrounds. And you know, I can't generalize, and nor can you as a judge. And I think that's the essence of your work. The clarity and the compassion to see what serves that person when they're so young. What opportunities you can give to them so they can change. You know, we worked with the reinserts from the guerrilla in Colombia. And you imagine, and you know, I'm not justifying violence, but you imagine if you're born into that situation and the first thing you see is your parents with machine guns and hand grenades. In contra, there's something which isn't even clear, like it wasn't even a ideology, it was just a rebellion, no? So all of these people have gone into this situation without being exposed to anything else. And I think all of those things have to be considered. What serves in each moment? And the thing that amazed me when I went, and it's not that I'm naive, and I know there's lots of people that, you know, they don't want to change. They don't think they've got opportunities. They're naturally they're very violent because of what they've come from. But you can't generalise. There has to be an opportunity for people that can change. And I think a lot of prejudice boxes people. And I think we also have to see that our reform centres, they don't work. Like pretty well they don't work. I went into jails, and firstly in Mexico, the thing that impacted me was that like 1,000 men came and they didn't have to. You know, they came out of their own will. It wasn't compulsory. There was no prize. You know, and I'm not Shakira. They didn't come to see me dance. They came to listen. And they were so respectful. And a lot of the men started to unify and started to cry. You know, I'm not saying I changed their lives, but maybe we opened a door, and some of them, we did change their lives because the violence started to go down. Like all of it was documented. I think what I'm basically saying is that everyone needs an opportunity. We have to be open to that. And as a judge, that's a very important job, no? And you have to be sensitive. You can't be prejudiced. You can't be ridiculous either and emotional. But that will come from your heart. And yes, with adolescents, it's very sad if they don't get the opportunity to change. That's a very sad thing. And I guess you're confronted with that problem all the time. Yes? Mm. And the problem, of course, also is drugs. Because they get them in the prison, and as soon as they get out, it's the same vicious cycle. Stealing everything to get money for drugs. So it's a very difficult situation. So you have to be very present and see where you can give. And yeah, people can change. People can change.
I want to ask you about something that's happening since the last few years, where I have been trying to deepen my spiritual growth, but also I felt like a big interest for feminism. So I have been learning more about feminism, and I feel that I get more intellectual about that, but I'm very interested and I have been rebuilding. Can you talk how can I do for my spiritual path not to get lost, but anyway I can work from that intellectual part anyway, that I think is great, because feminism means equality, pure equality. So I have like a contradiction between my heart and my mind.
It's so funny you talk about this. Because I did this 40 years ago. That's when we were doing the feminist campaign, no? You know, and marching for women's rights and cutting the line. But you know what I realised? That all of these things are external. And I agree with all the laws, and it should be equal pay, and it should be this, and it should be that. But it's like the gay issue. There's an internal judgment. I never thought that I was a woman or a man or anything. I just was me. And I always did what I wanted. And I never cared if women didn't do it. I did it anyway. And I did it 10 times better because I wanted to be the best. And it never even occurred to me that being a woman was a limitation. It never even entered my mind because I didn't have a prejudice. So the thing is, the outside can change. The laws can change. But you have to love yourself unconditionally and step into your power and not feel limited. Because if you feel limited or there's prejudice against you because you're a woman, you have to heal that. Because there's powerful women all over the world. Look at the media in America. The most important people are women. You know, you had a female president. You know, Michelle Bachelet wasn't worried about that she was a woman. She was a woman. So you have to take the power. And yes, things do need to change. But you have to change. And your spirituality and your sexuality are not separate at all. And also see these places where you start to fanaticize over things. My cause, my equal rights. You know, it's about an internal change. I know. Because if you're not focused on that, if you don't feel discriminated against, it doesn't happen. When I was in the United Nations, I was talking about sustainable development. And I was talking about sustainable development is initiated through humans loving themselves. And from that point, everything falls. Everything falls that is based in prejudice. Anything negative falls automatically. There's no prejudice when all humans love themselves unconditionally. Prejudice exists because we project. We want to feel superior. We want to feel safe. That's why we have greed and we live in lack. And that is the answer. And in this group, there was this American woman talking about equal rights for women. And it was so out of tune for my consciousness, because it was like she was sitting there complaining that I'm getting 10% less money and blah, 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 blah. And this happens everywhere. And it's not just with women. It's with employees, it's in the workforce, it's with the colour, it's with the religion. It's a human experience. Okay, so you can speak your truth in the moment. And you can campaign for different things. But really, you should be campaigning for loving yourself. Because once you have that, everything else falls. Because it's just an idea. It's another idea. Empowerment is a responsibility of each human. I love myself, everything changes. Yeah? And that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. I love myself. I'm unlimited in my expression. and everything changes.
How? How do you get to your level without the ego that creates all these people and all the people that knows you and admires you? Because I always thought that the people that is very high in levels are very complicated because the ego and the admiration that they receive. So where is the balance? To be able to be you, so honest and so authentic and so truthful, because you get great jokes.
Okay. Do you want me to answer the question? I'll answer.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the question is simple.
Firstly, what you tell me surprises me. When people say things like this, I get surprised. I'm like, really? Oh, thank you. Why? Because I'm just being me. I don't have any ego. Nothing. I don't have an expectation because I'm free. I'm just being naturally myself. I'm not thinking what people think, whether I'm doing a good job, whether I'm touching people. But I have something that's extraordinary, and it's my consciousness. And I have a system that touches people deeply, but it's in their hands. And I have a team of people that are so committed on their enlightenment that are giving constantly. And I live in complete appreciation of everything. It's not like I think, look what I have. I don't look at it like that. I'm just in love. I'm with my mouth open at how incredible everything is. So there's no question of my ego. That disappeared when I went into unity. And I had a horrible ego. It was very aggressive with me. I never thought anything great about myself. Ever. I never thought I was beautiful enough. I never thought I was intelligent enough. I never thought I was enough. So I never had one of those egos that was Argentinian, no? No. Gracias.
Come visit our webpage for books, movies, and our wonderful retreat centers. Isha's simple yet powerful system is transforming lives around the world.